right, firstborn Space Marine lovers and Terminator fans, welcome on in. This is Sprues and Studs, and in this video, we are going to be taking a look at a highly anticipated release of mine, which are going to be the Ultramarines Terminators. Specifically, we are going to be taking a deep dive into the Cyclone missile launcher one, as well as my favorite, the assault cannon one. So let's jump right on into the review. See what the blueberry bush has in store for us. Pick the blueberries from the bush. And is this guy going to be a tasty treat? However, before we get to the review, I just wanted to interrupt myself to let you know that I have an ongoing partnership with FlyToy, which is the website I personally use to fulfill my very own action figure collecting needs. I'll be honest with you in that I cannot recommend FlyToy enough, as I have been buying from them ever since these Warhammer 40K action figures hit the scene. They have fantastic and very responsive customer service. Also, just recently, I purchased some already released action figures, and using the free shipping option, they actually got the order from overseas to the United States in just 5 days. However, the normal free shipping times is between 10 to 14 days, which is still pretty amazing. So click on the link in the description below for the link to FlyToy, and make sure just before you check out, enter the code of SNS to get 12% off on your purchase. Just to let you know, this discount does not stack on top of the pre-order discount. So don't hesitate and get your action figures today. All right, first off to review is the Terminator with the assault cannon, and we will take a look at the body of the Terminator quite closely to see exactly what is going on with this action figure. So up top, you've got some nice lenses, probably a targeting array, I would assume, and the lenses are actually very nice. It's got your characteristic metallic silver for the base coat, and then the translucent red. And then moving on to the helmet itself, it does not look like it has the translucent red lenses, which I kind of think that JoyToy should have done. But instead we have the flat red lenses, as you see here. And then there is some light shading that is happening within the recesses of this helmet up top, as well as some areas down here. We will move on to the pauldron, and this particular pauldron is fairly unadorned on this side. It does have the Ultramarines U right here that is weathered a little bit, and then as you flip over to the other side, you can see that there is some calligraphy or scrawl on the side of the Terminator armor. And then on the other side, we're going to flip this around and take a look at the Crux Terminatus. And once again, the Crux Terminatus is very nice and very ornate. And you can see that it is a base coat of a dark gray, and they did some light gray dry brushing up top to give more depth as well as more weathering for this Crux. And then taking a look at the center of this action figure, you have a laureled skull right here. So within the recesses of the leaves, you do get to see shading. And then also the shading is pretty prominent within the skull as well. And while we are on sort of the middle section, let's take a look at the power fist of this action figure. And the power fist is also fairly ornate looking. Once again, you have a skull with laurels that are around it, and there is plenty of shading that is happening within the recesses of the laurels. And looking at the closed power fist, and you can see that there is shading at the edges of the armor for this power fist. So progressing on to the middle section, you have two of these icons. One is obviously white and the other one is gold. And progressing down to the lower part of this Terminator, you do have a skull that is actually not screened on. This is a three-dimensional skull, and there is shading that is happening within the eye sockets, as well as the empty part where the nose used to be, as well as the teeth. Although I would have appreciated if the black was a little bit stronger. The Uranus is screened on fairly nicely with no issues whatsoever. There is also some weathering that's happening with this banner. More scrawl, obviously a purity seal on this side, and there's a purity seal on this side as well. This shin portion that has plenty of scrawl on it too. So you will notice again, this action figure does have sheeting that is happening pretty much on the tops of the armor pieces, which is a little bit weird considering that this is where the highlight should be. And if you flip this around, there is plenty of shading that's happening between the recesses of the armor. So we will put this guy down and take a look at this massive assault cannon here. And this thing is actually pretty cool. The first thing I'll have to say that this assault cannon does not spin. As you can see, this assault cannon is very large compared to the body of the Terminator. In fact, this thing is the whole entire length of the Terminator. And then this thing is a dark gunmetal, and on the edges of this assault cannon you do get to see some weathering that is happening, and this is weathered a light silver color, and the same thing is happening all throughout this whole entire gun itself. The case of this assault cannon is black, as you can see here, and then rounding out this thing is 2 purity seals. So we will now move on to the Cyclone missile launcher Terminator. So while we are speaking of the Cyclone missile launcher, let's take a look at what is going on with it. So up top, 2 skulls, and in the middle of the Cyclone missile launcher, JoyToy has painted this a dark gunmetal color with some weathering that is happening up top as well. And then as we are progressing on down, you do get to see some scrawl that's on the side of this Cyclone missile launcher, and then you get to see the array of missiles that are on the back of this Terminator. And in the center is, I'm going to guess, probably a targeting array, and within the targeting array the lenses are actually a nice looking color with a translucent red. And progressing down to the helmet area, you have a targeting sensor, and this targeting sensor is a translucent red color, much like the lenses up here. However, the lenses of this helmet is a flat red color, which is a little bit of a disappointment, as I pointed out on the other assault cannon Terminator. And you get plenty of shading that is happening with the recesses here, and this looks a little bit more weathered compared to his assault cannon counterpart. All right, on this particular Terminator, let's take a look at the pauldron. So you've got the Ultramarines U, some scrawl, as well as an icon that's here. And then flipping around, you get to see the characteristic Crux Terminatus. In the center of this action figure, you see a winged skull, and there is plenty of shading, although a bit uneven, on this winged skull here. And then progressing on down, you have a skull and crossbones here, and a dark gunmetal amulet. Now let's take a quick look at this chain fist here, and chain fists are really badass. So you got the Ultramarines U, more calligraphy and scrawl right here, and the chain fist looks exactly like, well, a chain sword. There really isn't too much shading that's happening within the recesses here. As we progress on down, this area is actually unadorned. However, on the sides of it, more scrawl and writing, as well as a purity seal down here with more scrawl and writing too. And as we flip around here, it is of your standard Terminator armor back, except that with these Cyclone missile launchers up here, there are more skull and crossbones. So let's put down the body of this Terminator and take a quick look at the Storm Bolter. And the Storm Bolter is a very dark silver color, which mimics what we've seen before in the other Terminators. So you have the casing that is black here, and the rest of it is that dark gray gunmetal. And this dark gray gunmetal has been weathered. Right. One thing I'm going to quickly show you is how to arm this Terminator with his assault cannon. So this part actually is hinged, so you can actually open this up. What I ended up doing was actually doing this. I would pop off the hand right here, and then I would put the hand on the trigger here. Once the hand is securely around the assault cannon trigger, I actually will push this back, and then I pop the hand back onto the rest of the Terminator armor. And there you go. You have a Terminator that is wielding his assault cannon with no problems whatsoever. All right, now that these Terminators are fully reviewed, let me wrap this one up. What do you think about these two Terminators over here? Do you think that they are worth getting, or do you think that these things are going to be a hard pass for you? If you actually think that these things are going to be a hard pass for you, I'm not sure if you're a Warhammer 40K fan. Anyways, I'll let you know what I think about them. From when I was playing this as a teenager, Terminators are one of those iconic figures that you just have to have in your army. And I'll have to say that JoyToy did a fantastic job of replicating these Terminators from the miniatures. So what is there not to like about them? Well, to be honest, really nothing. I love the assault cannon on this Terminator over here. And I also love the chain fist as well as the Cyclone missile launcher on his counterpart over here. There's a couple things that I'm going to point out to you, just like a slight critique. I kind of wish that these Terminators were a little bit more adorned with like maybe more laurels and wreaths or skulls or something like that. Because if you actually compare them next to their Blood Angels brethren, these Terminators look a bit, well, plain. And I'll have to say, because of these guys are veterans, they should have a little bit more iconography or adornments on them. And another thing I'll have to point out to you is that this Cyclone missile launcher Terminator is a bit hard to pose, mainly because the Cyclone missile launchers themselves are kind of heavy, so this makes it very top heavy. So that's one thing that you're going to have to look out for. These are, again, solid action figures I would recommend for any collection. So anyways, this is Sprues and Studs. Thanks for tuning in to these action figure reviews. I really appreciate you members of the chapter. Your dedication as well as viewership has made this channel really explode, and I am floored by all the support that you've been giving me. And for you unsubscribed viewers, I hope that you smash that subscribe button, because you know that you're going to be getting very detailed content on all these newly released Warhammer 40K action figures by JoyToy. And if you are interested in picking up these figures, click on the link below to find these figures at a discount. So once again, thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you all in the next one.